Well, former Eskom's executive Matshela Koko says the 2.2 billion rand corruption case against him and 18 others was based on hatred. Koko was speaking to the media after the case was struck off the roll by the Middleburg Specialized Crime Court in Mpumalanga. Koko, his wife, two stepdaughters and others were arrested last year in connection with the corruption that allegedly took place during the construction of Kusile Power Station in 2015. We continue to get analysis on this matter. We're now joined via Teams by Advocate Stefanie Fick, Executive Director of the Accountability Division at Organisation Undoing Tax Abuse. Advocate, thank you so much for your time. Now, this was a major case involving, or it is rather a major case involving billions of rands, many suggesting that the decision to have it struck off the roll by the Middleburg Regional Court does paint a picture that the NPA was highly ill-prepared and that, in fact, they don't have their house in order. Your view?
Well, I think just the order that was given by court tells you that the court decided or ruled that there's an unreasonable delay. And I think it's quite fair to say that the unreasonable delay can be lie at the feet of the NPA and the investigation person that is in charge of the investigations, because there were still investigations outstanding. So unfortunately, it is a criticism, but it is a valid criticism.
Now, the NPA's investigative directorate obviously now says it will re-enroll the Kusile Power Station corruption case. I mean, do you get a sense that they are under pressure, especially as it relates to state capture cases that we've seen that they are in front of them? Or is there something more fundamental here at play? I mean, we keep hearing that these cases are complex and we should give the NPA some time. Or could we then be speaking about something very fundamental, like, do they actually have the relevant expertise?
Well, I think there's probably more than one problem, and I think everything you've mentioned might just be contributing factors to where the NPA is. So I think just objectively looking at what is out there is that you have seen state capture has gone, or state capture came and it is gone. We had a commission, a lot of information was put out there. We've seen how many people were implicated in state capture. But while that is ongoing, we have a crime rate that's through the roof. Each and every day, just normal South Africans are faced with, crimes. So it is a question of, does the NPA have the ability? Do they have the resources? The hawks, the police, law enforcement agencies, do they have the resources? Do they have the people to make a difference? And I think, unfortunately, the answer is no. I don't think we have the trust in these organizations that we should have. I mean, what is ordinary citizens supposed to think about this? You are bombarded with crime. You may or may not be able to lay a complaint. Once, if you are lucky and you can lay a complaint, then maybe not, it's investigated. And if you are lucky that the complaint is laid, the investigation is done, you may or may not be successful with the prosecution, or you may just see how the implicated leaves court because the state is taking their sweet time in order to investigate the matter. So I think from just ordinary South Africans, I think what they want to see is show us that you are serious, that the talk that you are, the things that you are saying, that you're serious about corruption and all of this, that we see this. But also, ministers, government, make sure that these institutions get the resources they deserve. We all know that, for example, the Blue Light Brigade gets, in contrast to these two organizations, more. So where's the priority?
And I suppose the criticism also speaks to their track record, especially as it speaks to, state capture. Just looking at the first state capture trial, it ended in a discharge, for the defendants with the acting Bloemfontein High Court Judge, Mpumalanga, saying that both the police and the prosecution, in fact, had been woefully inept, in the handling of the Nulane investment fraud and a money laundering case. That was a big case. Are we ever then going to see accountability? And to your point, what does this then mean about the NPA's, ability to prosecute state capture cases in effect?
I have to believe, and I think there's a lot of people, I have to believe that there's hope. Otherwise, us talking about it is also not going to help. But I believe talking about it, shed the light on the problems, that we can ultimately fix it. I refuse to believe that we can't fix it, because I refuse to believe that the citizens of this country is not important enough to create an NPA, to create law enforcement agencies that will work in the best interest of, South Africans. But it is important. I think, state capture, what happened with state capture, it's not just only the accountability in terms of the NPA and prosecutions. I think what we've also seen, that there was just no accountability, in the sense that, just if you look at ethical behavior, there's criminal behavior, but also ethical behavior. And to what degree have we seen that people, in terms of disciplinary actions, in terms of removing them, for example, from Parliament, have we seen? And we haven't. So the whole concept of accountability needs work, in all honesty. They need to start showing us, and I'm talking about them and us, because I think if this country is going to go in the right direction and is turned around so that the country is governed in the best interest of South Africans, I'm really starting to believe that it's up to civil society. We can't wait for politicians. We can't wait for government in order to make South Africa livable again. And not just complaining about load shedding, but also giving people that do not have the electricity, give them the infrastructure, give them clean water and access to clean water.
I want to take a little different direction now. Just listening to what Matshela Koko said, just outside this case was struck off the roll, saying, for instance, that this case was based on hatred. But just to look at, some of the decisions that have been taken in the courts as a result of what the NPA was not able to do, and looking at it from an accused point of view. I mean, I think Matshela Koko also mentioned the fact that, justice is not being served here. When you have delays to the tune that he has experienced with the other co-accused of a year, I mean, this case has been, I think, investigated over 5 years, if I'm correct, but they were arrested a year ago, and it has taken delays after delays for an ordinary South African. That is just something that simply cannot happen. What does this then tell us, if you are on the other side of the law?
And thank you for that question, because I think it's a very important question, because I think that there is some good news in there. Do I agree with the way Koko is going on and what he is saying? No. But what I can say, if you look objectively at where Koko and his co-accused were, what does this tell us? Is that our criminal justice system works. In other words, the court has got a duty every time a case is postponed to look at, is this reasonable? Is it fair to postpone? Because remember, we do have each and every accused person, not necessarily every person, every accused person has got a right to a fair trial, right to a speedy trial. And this is what happened. The court has said, state, you are taking way too long. And the accused has got rights. This is not about whether, the accused are guilty or not. It's got nothing to do with the merit. But in this system, the accused also needs to be treated fairly. That's a democratic system. That's our constitutional dispensation. And that what happened here is the court sat back and said, objectively, I have to look at the rights of the accused. And in light of that, these accused has been faced with unreasonable delay. And therefore, I'm going to remove the matter from the roll. When a court is faced with this decision, there's a lot of factors they have to take into account. And I think on a previous occasion, a postponement was given because the court weighed up the interest and said, okay, the state, maybe your interest weighs more, more than the interest of the accused. But in this instance, where we are now, the accused's interest actually weighs more. So I think that positive message is that, the wheels of justice are sometimes turning slowly, but it is turning, and it is supposed to work for the state in order to bring the accused before court, but also it should work for accused persons to make sure that they get a fair trial and a speedy trial.
All right, Advocate, thank you so much for your time. Really do appreciate your comments and analysis. Advocate Stefanie Fick, the Executive Director of the Accountability Division at the organization Undoing Tax Abuse.